What were the Boer Republics? Well, in year 1652, this dude, Jan van Riebeck, who was a member of the Dutch East India Company and a navigator, him and his entourage crossed the Cape of Good Hope, a very strategically important point on South Africa. And there they settled Table Bay, a small little area. There they conducted with the natives and settled a little trade colony. This was for the VOC, aka the Dutch East India Company. There, later settlements were established: Stellenbosch in 1689, Paarl in 1687, Swellendam in 1746, and Graafrenet in 1786. These settlements were mostly settled by Dutch traders, but were also settled by the native African population that had been there before or had been taken from areas such as Mozambique and Namibia to be slaves. They were also settled by the French Huguenots, who were religious refugees from France during the time. The product of these two intermingling created the present-day Boer, a man who was very patriotic and had a love for his country while also being a little rowdy, but he was also a farmer at heart. The Boers were generally disliked and were described in a book called The Great World War as rugged, vile, and unconquerable, which, is a good thing. They relied on slave labor to, keep the economy going, and it was working pretty good. Also, because the Cape of Good Hope was such a strategic point, so much trade happened through here, which strengthened the Dutch East India Company's hold on it. So, the British, seeing the economic growth and being British, they decided they'll just take it. So, they sent a few ships to take the Dutch East India little trading post, and they, probably fought a little with them. But after that, they eventually won. They settled the little area as now a British colony, but it was still mainly settled by the Boers. This would lead to a lot of turmoil within the area over British control of a very Dutch prevalent colony. The British were doing some taxation stuff that the Boers were not used to, and they also banned slavery, so a lot of the Boers were really pissed about that. But instead of doing a mass revolt, many of them decided, we'll just go to the fertile African land, and they went on the Great Trek, where they traveled across South Africa to establish new lands. These Voortrekker settlements is what the name of they were, and eventually the Battle of Blood River occurred. At the battle, they beat the native African Zulu people because of their superior rifle, despite being outnumbered, and they won that. After that, they decided to establish the Natalia Republic, and later republics formed such as Johannesburg, Windburg, Potchefstroom, Cliff River, Leidenburg, and Utrecht. One of these republics, the Natalia Republic, held the port of Durban, which was really economically important. So the British decided to punish them because they really wanted that. And then they decided to punish the rest of the republics, even though they didn't really do anything, doing the worst punishment you could ever give anyone, turning them British. And now they had a hold over Africa. Now, these Voortrekker settlements were now part of the British, and they really didn't like them, were beginning to revolt, and the British didn't really like that, so they were thinking about what to do. Eventually, they decided to sign a treaty that would give autonomy and eventually independence in January 17th, 1852. This was called the Sand River Convention and created the new states of Transvaal and Orange Free State. After their independence, these two republics had a lot of different factions all working to gain power, and some of these rebels, led by Stephanus Schumann, opposed the Pretorius government. Paul Kruger, a loyal general, was loyal to Pretorius and didn't fight them. This is all because Pretorius wanted to become the president of the Orange Free State too, and so Paul Kruger was sent to fight Stephanus Schumann. Now, eventually they gained power, and the South African Republic was declared, eventually gaining power. Over the course of the next years, the British expanded their new Cape Colony a lot and were threatening the balance of power. And they really wanted to take out the Orange Free State and the South African Republic, leading up to the Boer War.